Listen to me. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you're going through. Setbacks are not the end of the story. A setback doesn't mean failure. It means preparation. A setback is nothing but life setting the stage for your comeback. You see, when life knocks you down, it's not punishment, it's positioning. It's putting you in a place where you can grow stronger, sharper, more determined. Every setback I've had in my life, from being homeless, from being a high school dropout, from people telling me I wouldn't make it, all of that pain was a setup. It was God saying, I'm preparing you for something greater. And I want you to understand, the storm you're in right now isn't here to destroy you, it's here to develop you. Don't cry about the setback. Don't quit because of the setback. Lean into it, learn from it. Because if you're breathing, if you're still here, then your comeback is already loading. Every time life shuts a door, every time a plan doesn't work the way you want it, every time you think you've reached the end of the road, I need you to remember one thing. That's not the end of your story. That's the beginning of something new. See, most people confuse a setback with a conclusion. They think when something falls apart, when the dream collapses, when the relationship ends, when the opportunity vanishes, it's over. They throw their hands up, they hang their heads low, and they walk away believing life has written them off. But let me tell you something, a setback is never an ending. It's always a setup for a new chapter, a new direction, a new blessing. When I was younger, I thought that every time I got rejected, every time I failed, that meant I wasn't good enough. I thought it meant I should quit. But life kept teaching me over and over again. That rejection was redirection. Failure was formation. Every closed door wasn't slamming me out. It was guiding me to the right one. See, some of you right now are standing in front of a closed door and you're crying about it. You're banging on it, begging for it to open. But maybe it was never meant to open. Maybe that setback was life's way of telling you, I've got something better for you down the hall. The problem is we're so focused on what ended, we missed a new beginning waiting for us. You lose the job. Instead of seeing it as an opportunity to chase the dream you've been ignoring, you sit in depression. You get rejected by one school. Instead of seeing it as a chance to go somewhere that fits you better, you stop believing in your potential. You go through heartbreak. Instead of realizing that relationship wasn't built to carry your destiny, you convince yourself you will never find love again. But if you look back at your life, if you really reflect, you'll see that every single new beginning came disguised as a setback. Think about it. You didn't get stronger because everything went right. You didn't discover your resilience because you lived on easy street. You discovered who you are because something you wanted slipped out of your hands. And instead of giving up, you fall back. That's what made you. That's what shaped you. The truth is, setbacks are opportunities in disguise, but only the ones who keep moving forward see it that way. Let me give you an example. Imagine a seed buried underground. From the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. In fact, if you judged it too early, you might think burying that seed was the end of his life. It's dark, it's covered, it's silent. But inside that dirt, something powerful is taking place. The seed is breaking open, roots are digging deep, and soon a sprout will push through the ground into the sunlight. That moment in the dirt wasn't the end, it was the beginning. The same is true for you. That dark place, that season of being buried under stress, pain, and failure, that's not your grave, that's your planting ground. That's where your roots are taking hold. That's where your strength is growing. That's where your comeback is being prepared. But you have to shift your mindset. You cannot see setbacks as permanent. You cannot take a temporary obstacle and give it eternal power over your life. Too many people stop in the middle of a setback, and that's why they never experienced a comeback. They see the closed door and say, well, that's it. I guess I'll just stay here. But winners don't stop at closed doors. Winners don't cry over what ended. Winners understand that every ending is a chance to start fresh, wiser and stronger than before. Let me talk to dreamers for a second. Some of you have visions of success, of building businesses, of finishing school, of creating a legacy. But the first time you ran into resistance, you let the dream die. You told yourself it wasn't meant to be. You forgot that every successful person you admire went through setback after setback before they saw a breakthrough. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team outside Boston. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. Do you see a pattern? Every single one of them faced endings that looked like failures, but those endings were setups for greater beginnings. They didn't quit when the door closed. They believed that something bigger was waiting, and because they believed it, they pushed until they saw it. That's the difference between people who stay down and people who rise. It's not that the successful ones never face setbacks. It's that they don't interpret the setback as the end. They see it as a signal. I'm not done yet. Something new is starting. And you've got to train yourself to think like that. When life knocks you back, instead of saying, oh, why me? Start saying, what's next? Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? Start asking, what is this preparing me for? When you start thinking like that, you'll realize that nothing in your life is wasted. Every mistake, every failure, every delay, it all has purpose. That relationship that ended taught you what you truly need in a partner. That job that fired you showed you that you were capable of more than you were settling for. That business idea that fly taught you how to manage money and sharpen your vision. Nothing is wasted. Every single ending was making you ready for the next level. But here's the catch. You have to move. You can't stay stuck in the moment of setback. Too many people turn a chapter break into a full stop. They let one bad season define their whole story. Listen to me. You are not your failure. You are not your rejection. You are not your loss. You are the one who keeps going after it, the one who refuses to let an ending be the final word every time you take another step. Even when you feel like quitting, you're proving that the story isn't finished. Think about the word a comeback. You can't have a comeback without first having a setback. You can't rise without first being knocked down. You can't win without first facing defeat. That's what makes the comeback so powerful. It's not the fact that you succeeded, it's the fact that you succeeded after failure tried to destroy you. It's the fact that you rose after you were buried. It's the fact that you stood tall after life tried to break you. That's what gives your story its power. That's what makes people look at you and say, if they made it, I can make it too. So don't despise the setbacks. Don't curse the endings. Embrace them. Thank them. Because without them, you would never know the strength of your comeback. Without them, you never discover the best version of yourself. Life isn't against you. It's building you. Every no is leading you to a greater yes. Every failure is teaching you how to win. Every ending is clearing space for a new beginning. And the truth is, the comeback is already in motion. It starts the moment you say, this is not the end, this is the beginning of something greater. You don't have to wait until everything looks perfect to believe in it. You just have to keep moving, keep believing, keep pushing. Because as long as you're breathing, as long as you got fight left in you, your story is still being written. So when you face that setback, and you will, because life guarantees it, don't panic, don't quit, smile and say to yourself, oh, this isn't the end. This is the beginning of my comeback. And then keep walking, keep grinding, keep believing. Because one day soon, you'll look back at that closed door, that painful ending, and you'll realize it wasn't the conclusion. It was the setup, the greatest setup of your life. Pain is preparation. I know that doesn't sound comforting when you're in the middle of it. When you're crying at night, when your chest feels heavy, when you don't know how you're going to make it through the next day. I know it doesn't feel like preparation when everything around you is falling apart, when you've invested time, energy, and heart into something and it slips through your fingers. In those moments, pain feels like punishment. It feels unfair. It feels like the world has turned against you. But if you look deeper, if you refuse to see pain as the enemy, you'll begin to understand that pain is the greatest teacher you'll ever have. Pain doesn't show up to destroy you. Pain shows up to shape you, to mold you, to carve out of you the strength that comfort could never produce. Think about it. When has growth ever come from ease? When has greatness ever been born in the comfort zone? Comfort is nice, but comfort never made a champion. Comfort never built resilience. Comfort never built greatness. It's pain that develops power. It's pain that trains discipline. It's pain that sharpens focus. Every time you go through pain, you're being prepared for something greater than where you are now. Let me break it down. Pain is like resistance training for your spirit. Just like your muscles don't grow without weight, your character doesn't grow without pressure. If you walk into the gym and lift nothing but air, you will never get stronger. But when you add weight, when you put your body under resistance, your muscles tear, they break down, and then they rebuild stronger. That process hurts. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. In the same way, life adds weight to your journey. It allows you to carry the resistance of failure, the resistance of rejection, the resistance of disappointment. It tears at your pride. It breaks down your assumptions, but only so that you can rebuild with strength you didn't have before. Pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Some of you are wondering why you keep going through tough seasons, why you keep getting tested, why it feels like life won't give you a break. Let me tell you why. Because you're being prepared for something greater than you can imagine. You've been asking for big blessings. You've been dreaming about success. You've been telling yourself you want more out of life. But listen, you cannot expect a championship without championship training. You cannot expect to climb mountains if you're only prepared for hills. The size of your pain is an indication of the size of your purpose. Life is making sure that when the opportunity arrives, you will be strong enough to carry it. When I look back at my own life, I realize every painful moment was a classroom. Dropping out of high school, that pain taught me humility. Being homeless, that pain taught me survival. Being rejected, that pain taught me resilience. Each struggle trained me for the next stage of my life. If I hadn't been through those painful seasons, I wouldn't have had the strength to stand where I am today. And I know the same is true for you. You may not see it now, but the pain you're in is shaping you. It's chiseling away at your weaknesses. It's hardening your resolve. It's creating the version of you that can handle the destiny you're dreaming about. But here's the problem. Most people run from pain. The moment it gets uncomfortable, they quit. The moment it hurts, they back down. And when you run from pain, you run from your preparation. You disqualify yourself from the blessings that were meant for you. See, you can't pray for strength and then run from the gym. You can't ask for success and then quit when life tests you. You can't cry for purpose and then hide when it requires sacrifice. Pain is the curriculum for greatness. If you drop out of that class, you never graduate to the life you're capable of living. You got to embrace it. You got to lean into it. Stop asking, why me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? What is this preparing me for? Because every painful experience carries a lesson. And if you refuse to learn it, you'll keep repeating the test until you pass. Pain will not leave until it has taught you what you need to know. That's why some of you feel like you're stuck in the same cycle. You keep facing the same struggle over and over because you haven't learned the lesson yet. Once you embrace the pain, once you accept that it's preparation, you'll finally be able to move forward. Think about athletes. The ones you admire didn't get there by accident. They didn't just show up on game day and win championships. They went through grueling practices, endless drills, workouts that pushed them to their limits. They sacrificed sleep, comfort, and ease. They endured pain so that when it mattered most, they were ready. That's what life is doing to you. It's putting you through practice, it's building your endurance, it's sharpening your skills. The game day of your destiny is coming, and pain is your training ground. Even in nature, you see this truth. A diamond is formed under pressure. Gold is refined by fire. A butterfly has to struggle out of the cocoon to strengthen its wings. Without the pressure, without the fire, without the struggle, none of them will reach their full potential. And neither will you. The pain you're going through is not pointless. It's the fire that refines you. It's the pressure that turns you into a diamond. It's the struggle that gives you wings. But you've got to change your perspective. If you see pain as punishment, you'll hate it, resist it, and quit under it. But if you see pain as preparation, you'll endure it. You'll learn from it, and you'll come out of it stronger. It's all about perspective. The same pain that breaks one person can build another. The difference is mindset. I need you to stop running from the very thing that's preparing you. Stop asking God to take away the pain and start asking Him to show you the purpose in it. Because there's purpose in the tears. There's purpose in the heartbreak. There's purpose in the loss. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it does mean it's worth it. And if you can endure the preparation, the comeback will be that much greater. Remember, pain is temporary, but the strength it produces lasts forever. That heartbreak won't last forever, but the wisdom you gain from it will. That failure won't last forever, but the resilience it creates will. That rejection won't last forever, but the confidence it builds will. Pain passes, but preparation remains. So the next time you're hurting, the next time you feel like you can't take another step, I want you to remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the classroom. This is not punishment. This is preparation. My body might be tired, my heart might be heavy, but my spirit is learning. My strength is growing. My destiny is being shaped. And one day when the pain has passed and the blessing arrives, you'll look back and realize that you weren't being destroyed. You were being developed. That the fire didn't burn you, it refined you. That the struggle didn't break you, it gave you wings. That the pain didn't end you, it prepared you. And when you stand in the middle of your comeback, you'll finally understand why the pain was necessary. Because without it, you would never have been ready. Your mindset determines your comeback. I can't stress that enough. Life is not just about what happens to you, it's about how you choose to see what happened. Two people can go through the exact same storm, the exact same setback, the exact same pain, but one comes out broken and defeated, while the other comes out stronger and victorious. The difference isn't the situation. The difference is the mindset. Your mind is the battlefield. Your thoughts are the weapons. And if you lose in your mind, you've already lost before you even try to fight. I need you to get this. Setbacks are neutral until your mindset labels them. When you face rejection, when you fail, when life knocks you down, your mind immediately begins to create a story around it. You either say, this setback means I'm finished, I'm not good enough, I'll never succeed. Or you say, this setback is temporary. This is a lesson. This will prepare me for something greater. Whichever story you tell yourself is the reality you'll live in. That's why mindset is everything. Your comeback can only happen if your mindset gives it permission. When I was homeless, sleeping in abandoned buildings, it wasn't just my circumstances that were bad. It was my mindset too. At first, I thought I was a failure, that my life had no purpose, that the world had written me off. And as long as I thought like that, nothing changed. I stayed stuck. But the moment I shifted my mindset, the moment I told myself, this is not my ending. This is my training ground. This is where I find my strength. Everything began to shift. The circumstances didn't immediately change, but my mind did. And once my mind changed, I started seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. I started seeing possibility instead of problems. And that mental shift was the spark that fueled my comeback. Your comeback doesn't start when your situation changes. It starts when your mind changes. Because the truth is, life will always throw challenges at you. You can't control that. But what you can control is how you respond. If your mindset is weak, you'll quit at the first sign of trouble. But if your mindset is strong, if you train your mind to see setbacks as stepping stones, you'll rise every time you fall. Think about an athlete. The body can be in peak condition, but if the mind isn't right, the performance collapses. If a fighter walks into the ring already defeated in their mind, it doesn't matter how strong they are physically, they've already lost. But if that same fighter walks into the ring with the mindset that might get knocked down, but I'm not staying down, I'm coming back, then no punch can end them or shots in them. That mindset is the difference between defeat and comeback. And here's the truth. Your mindset is a choice. I know life is tough. I know setbacks hurt. Well, you decide how you frame them. You decide whether you see them as walls or as detours. You decide whether you label them as endings or beginnings. You decide whether they become anchors that hold you down or ladders that lift you up. The situation may be out of your control, but the story you tell yourself about the situation is 100% in your control. The problem is, too many of us feed our minds with defeat. We repeat negative thoughts like mantras. I can't do it. I'll never make it. I'm cursed. Nothing ever works for me. And what happens? We create a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your life will always move in the direction of your strongest thoughts. If you keep telling yourself it's over, then it will be over. But if you tell yourself it's a setup for a comeback, then your actions, your attitude, your decisions will align with that belief and push you toward victory. You've got to protect your mindset like your life depends on it, because it does. Stop letting every setback convince you that you're finished. Stop letting every rejection convince you that you're worthless. Stop letting every failure convince you that you're incapable. Instead, start speaking life into yourself. Start telling yourself, oh, this is temporary. This is making me stronger. This is preparing me for the next level. And watch how your energy changes. Watch how your actions shift. Watch how your entire life begins to move toward a comeback. Think about Thomas Edison. He failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Imagine if his mindset was weak. Imagine if after the first few failures he said, I guess it's not meant to be. We'd be sitting in the dark. His comeback wasn't about luck, it was about mindset. He decided that every failure was feedback, not final. He decided that each setback was teaching him something valuable. That's mindset. That's why his comeback is legendary. Or think about someone like Nelson Mandela, 27 years in prison. Do you understand how easy it would have been to give up, to let bitterness and hopelessness consume his mind? But his mindset was unbreakable. He saw prison not as the end of his story, but as preparation for leadership. He used that time to sharpen his vision, to strengthen his resolve. And when he came out, his comeback wasn't just personal. It changed an entire nation. That's the power of mindset. The same power is available to you. You don't have to stay broken. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to let your setback define you. You can choose to see it differently. You can choose to see it as the spark that ignites your greatest season. But that choice happens in your mind first. You've got to train your mind daily. Just like athletes train their bodies, you've got to exercise your mindset. That means feeding it with positive words, surrounding yourself with people who push you forward, and rejecting the lies of defeat. It means starting your day by setting your intention. No matter what happens today, I'm not quitting. No matter what happens today, I'm moving forward. No matter what happens today, I'm getting closer to my comeback. When you discipline your thoughts like that, setbacks lose their power over you. And understand this. Setbacks will test your mind. It's easy to stay positive when life is smooth, but the real test comes when everything falls apart. That's when your mindset matters most. When you've lost a job, when the relationship ends, when the money runs out, when your health takes a hit, that's when you need to grab hold of your mind and declare, I will not be defeated. I will rise again. This is not my ending. If you can win in your mind, you can win in your mind, you can win in your life. But if you lose in your mind, it doesn't matter how much potential you have, you'll never rise. That's why I tell people, guard your thoughts because they are the architects of your destiny. So let me ask you right now, what story are you telling yourself about your setback? Are you saying, oh, this is the end? Or are you saying, this is my setup? Are you telling yourself you're finished? Or are you telling yourself you're just getting started? Because whichever one you choose will shape your future. I know life has hit you hard. I know you got scars, disappointments, and pain, but don't let that pain dictate your mindset. Use your mind to dictate your future. Declare that you will not stay down. Declare that your best days are ahead of you, not behind you. Declare that every setback is just building the momentum for your comeback. When you believe it in your mind, your actions will follow. You'll start taking steps again. You'll start fighting again. You'll start moving again. And before you know it, you'll be standing in the middle of your comeback, looking back at the setback with gratitude, because it was the very thing that trained your mindset for victory. So hear me clearly. Your comeback doesn't depend on luck. It doesn't depend on circumstances. It doesn't even depend on other people. It depends on your mindset. Get your mind right, and your life will follow. Protect your thoughts, feed your spirit, and believe with everything in you that this is not the end. Because the moment your mindset aligns with your purpose, your comeback becomes unstoppable. Failure is feedback, not final. Most people get this wrong. They see failure as the end of the road, the conclusion, the final judgment on their abilities and their worth. But failure is never final. Failure is a message, a teacher, a mirror that shows you what needs to change. When you fail, the world isn't telling you to quit. It's telling you to adjust. It's telling you to try again, but differently, with more wisdom, more focus, and more resilience. Failure is not a tombstone. It's a signpost pointing you in a better direction. Look, the problem is that we were raised to fear failure. In school, we were punished for wrong answers, ridiculed for mistakes. We were taught that failure meant you weren't good enough. But in reality, every person who's ever achieved greatness has failed over and over again. The difference between them and those who stay average is simple. They didn't see failure as final. They saw it as feedback. They didn't say, I failed, so I must be done. They said, I failed, so I just learned what not to do. Let me try again. That's the mindset that creates comebacks. Think about Thomas Edison. Thousands of attempts before he invented the light bulb. Reporters asked him how it felt to fail that many times. He said, I didn't fail. I just found thousands of ways that didn't work. That's the attitude of a winner. That's the perspective that keeps you moving forward. His so-called failures were just feedback that refined his approach. Without those attempts, the final breakthrough would have never come. Failure is like a coach. It critiques you. It points out your weak spots. It tells you where you need to improve. But too many of us take failure personally instead of taking it constructively. When we fail, we let shame bury us. We let embarrassment silence us. We let doubt consume us. And we miss the point completely. Failure isn't saying, "I'm not capable." It's saying, you haven't found the right approach yet. The people who succeed are simply the ones who listen to the feedback, make adjustments, and keep going. Let me bring it home. When I dropped out of high school, I thought I was finished. I thought that was the end of my story. People told me I'd never amount to anything. For a while, I believed them. But eventually, I realized dropping out wasn't final. It was feedback. It was life showing me that I had weaknesses I needed to confront. Discipline, consistency, responsibility. Once I embraced that lesson, I didn't let failure define me. I let it direct me. And because of that, I came back stronger, went back to school, and became the man you see today. Here's the truth. Failure is part of the process. You cannot have success without failure. You can't learn to ride a bike without falling. You can't build a business without making mistakes. You can't reach your dreams without setbacks along the way. Every failure is a step forward, if you see it as feedback. If you don't quit, you'll discover that each failure was just another brick in the foundation of your success. But here's the danger. You can let failure paralyze you if you give it the wrong meaning. If you tell yourself, I failed, so I'm not good enough, you'll stop trying. If you tell yourself, I failed, so I'll never make it, you'll give up. That's the lie that keeps people stuck. The truth is, failure doesn't define you unless you let. It's just data. It's just information. It's a teacher. The only thing that defines you is whether you get back up and use that feedback to move forward. Think about Michael Jordan. People call him the greatest basketball player of all time. But they forget he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. He lost over 300 games. He missed game-winning shots 26 times. But what did he say? I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Do you see it? Do you see it? He didn't let failure convince him he was finished. He let it refine his game. He let it fuel his comeback. That's what made him great. You've got to shift your relationship with failure. Stop running from it. Stop fearing it. Start embracing it. Start asking, what is this teaching me? How can I grow from this? How can I come back stronger because of this? If you do that, failure becomes one of your greatest allies. It becomes the very thing that pushes you to excellence. Listen, failure hurts. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It stings. It's embarrassing. It makes you question yourself. But just because it hurts doesn't mean it's final. Pain is part of growth. Think about working out. When your muscles burn, when they tear, that pain is actually feedback that they're getting stronger. Failure works the same way. It tears at your pride. It burns your ego. But it's preparing you to be stronger, wiser, and more resilient than you were before. Some of you are stuck right now because you're treating failure like a dead end instead of a detour. You had a dream, you tried, it didn't work, and you stopped. But what if you tried again? What if instead of quitting, you adjusted? What if instead of saying, I failed, you said, I may learn? Imagine where you'd be if you didn't stop at the first setback. Imagine how far you go if you treated failure as feedback instead of final. Think about the Wright brothers. They failed countless times trying to build the first airplane. Each crash was feedback. Each failed flight taught them something new. If they had quit, we'd still be stuck on the ground. Or think about Steve Jobs, fired from his own company, rejected by the very organization he built. That looked like failure. But instead of quitting, he used that feedback, grew as a leader, and came back to build one of the greatest comebacks in business history. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. It's woven into the journey. Every successful person has a resume full of failures that taught them, sharpened them, and prepared them for the victory you now see. Don't envy the success you see without respecting the failures that built it. But here's the key. Failure only becomes feedback if you're willing to reflect. Too many people fail and then distract themselves, numb themselves, and avoid thinking about it. But winners reflect. They ask the tough questions. What went wrong? What could I have done differently? What can I learn from this? Reflection turns failure into wisdom. Quitting turns failure into regret. Which one do you want? So I'm telling you today, don't be afraid to fail. Be afraid of not trying. Be afraid of quitting too early. Be afraid of wasting your potential because you were scared of looking bad. Every failure brings you closer to your comeback, as long as you don't stop. When you fail, don't see a period. See a comma, your story isn't over. This is just a pause, a lesson, a redirection. If you keep riding, if you keep pushing, your comeback will be that much sweeter because of the failures you overcame. And when you finally win, when you finally break through, you'll realize the failures weren't setbacks, they were setups. They weren't punishments, they were preparations, they weren't endings. They were lessons that built the foundation of your success. Failure is feedback, not final. Let that truth sink deep into your spirit. The next time you fall, don't stay down. Get up, reflect, adjust, keep moving. Because as long as you're breathing, as long as you're trying, as long as you're learning, your story isn't over. Your failure is just the beginning of your comeback. When we talk about setbacks, most people see them as the end of the road. They feel like they've been knocked down, shut out, or left behind. What separates those who rise from those who stay down is the ability to turn pain into progress. The fifth keynote is about transforming obstacles into an opportunity. It's about understanding that inside every challenge lies a chance for growth, for reinvention, and for power that can only be unlocked when you refuse to give up. Obstacles are not there to destroy you. They are there to develop you, to mold you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared for the next level of your journey. Think about it. Every time you hit a roadblock, you're forced to slow down, rethink, and recalibrate. That process may be frustrating, but it also teaches you resilience, patience, and strategy. If life were always smooth, you'd never have the grit to handle the storms that come. You'd never learn how to pivot, how to think creatively, or how to push past limitations. The very thing you call an obstacle might actually be the classroom where your greatest lessons are taught. And if you lean into that truth instead of running from it, you'll start seeing setbacks not as detours, taunting you toward a greater purpose. Consider how many successful people in history faced immense obstacles before they achieved greatness. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before perfecting the light bulb. Most would have quit after the 100th failure, let alone the 1000th. But Edison didn't see those failures as wasted time. He saw them as steps forward, as opportunities to refine, as obstacles shaping his invention. The obstacle wasn't a block, it was a builder. And because he refused to see failure as final, the world today enjoys light at the flip of a switch. That's what it means to transform obstacles into opportunity. You change your perception. And once your perception changes, your reality changes too. Now let's bring it closer to home. Every one of us has faced challenges, financial struggles, broken relationships, academic failures, health scares, or moments where the dream seemed impossible. And in those moments, the pain feels unbearable. You wonder why this is happening to you. You start questioning if you're even capable of moving forward. But let me remind you, those struggles aren't there to stop you. They're there to stretch you. They're there to demand a version of you that you haven't yet discovered. Obstacles force you to dig deeper, to find strength you didn't know existed, and to uncover talents you might have overlooked. Think of it this way. If life only gave you easy wins, you never develop stamina. Athletes don't become champions by running downhill. They build their strength running uphill, fighting against resistance, sweating through pain, and enduring discomfort. The resistance is what shapes their bodies and sharpens their minds. In the same way, your obstacles are the resistance shaping your destiny. They are the uphill battles training you for the victories ahead. And without those battles, you'd never become the person capable of carrying the crown. The secret to transforming obstacles into opportunities lies in your mindset. Two people can face the same problem, but one sees a curse while the other sees a chance. One gets stuck complaining while the other gets busy creating. One focuses on what they lost, while the other focuses on what they can learn. Your mindset determines whether an obstacle will crush you or catapult you. If you decide to see the obstacle as a stepping stone, you'll rise higher than you ever imagined. If you decide to see it as a teacher, you'll gain wisdom that no textbook could ever give you. Let's take an example. Imagine you lose your job. For many, that feels like devastation, like the end of security, stability, and identity. But what if that job loss is actually the push you needed to finally start the business you've been dreaming about? What if being forced out of comfort is what opens the door to creativity, entrepreneurship, and financial freedom? What seemed like a tragedy becomes the birthplace of triumph. That's what it means to transform obstacles into opportunities. The loss is real, but so is the possibility that lies on the other side. Another example, failure in school. Many young people think that failing a class means they aren't smart enough, talented enough, or destined to succeed. But some of the greatest minds struggled in traditional education systems. Their so-called failure was not a measure of their worth. It was simply a sign that their gifts weren't meant to be confined by standard methods. For them, the obstacle of failure became the spark for thinking differently, creating new paths, and innovating in ways that changed the world. If they had accepted failure as the end, their genius would have been buried. But because they saw the obstacle as an opportunity, they unlocked something extraordinary. Obstacles are also opportunities for self-discovery. When you hit a wall, you learn what you're made of. You discover your patience, your courage, your endurance. You realize that the pain you thought would break you actually made you. You realize that fear loses its grip when you face it head on. You realize that setbacks are not signs of weakness, but signals of growth. Without those obstacles, you never know the depth of your own strength. You never understand just how much power lies within you. The problem is that too many people quit too soon. They see the obstacle and think, oh, this is too much for me. But what they don't realize is that the obstacle is not meant to stop them. It's meant to test them, to refine them, to prepare them. The key is endurance. You can't give up halfway through the process because the reward is waiting on the other side. You can't let temporary pain rob you of permanent victory. The opportunity doesn't reveal itself to those who quit. It reveals itself to those who persist. Let's not forget, obstacles also humble us. They remind us that we don't have it all figured out, that we still have room to grow. They strip away arrogance, forcing us to approach life with humility and gratitude. When you've been through the fire, you appreciate the rain. When you faced hunger, you cherish the meal. When you've endured loss, you value relationships more deeply. Obstacles teach us to value the blessings we once overlooked. And in doing so, they make us better humans, more compassionate, more empathetic, and more grounded. Finally, transforming obstacles into opportunities is not just about personal success, it's about impact. When you overcome challenges, your story becomes a testimony for others. Your struggle becomes someone else's survival guide. People look at your scars and see hope for their own wounds. By turning obstacles into opportunity, you don't just elevate your life, you inspire others to rise as well. You prove that it's possible to take pain and turn it into purpose, to take loss and turn it into legacy. So the next time you face an obstacle, don't run from it. Don't curse it. Don't let it defeat you. Instead, ask yourself, what lesson is hidden here? What strength is being built here? What opportunity is disguised in its pain? Because I promise you, if you change the way you see, the very thing that was meant to break you can become the very thing that makes you. Every obstacle carries a seed of opportunity. It's up to you to water it, nurture it, and let it grow into the comeback that defines your story. When you encounter setbacks, it is natural to feel like the world is against you, like the universe is conspiring to hold you back from what you desire. But setbacks often carry hidden lessons, valuable insights that are not always visible in the moment of pain or struggle. They force us to pause, reflect, and adjust our perspective. A setback is rarely the end. Rather, it is a signal that something in your process, mindset, or preparation requires refinement. When you learn to treat every disappointment as an opportunity for growth, you start to see that setbacks aren't there to destroy you. They are there to teach you how to build stronger, more resilient foundations. Growth only comes when something challenges us to go beyond what we thought was possible. If life always went smoothly, you would never know your real capacity to endure, adapt, and thrive. Think of an athlete training for greatness. Every failed attempt at lifting a heavier weight is not wasted effort. It's a test of limits that reveals weaknesses to be strengthened. Every fall on the track, every missed shot, Every game lost teaches that athlete where to adjust their training, their strategy, or their mindset. The same applies to life. Each setback you face is a mirror reflecting what needs to change in order for you to rise higher. Without those moments of struggle, you will remain stuck at your current level, blind to the areas where growth is possible. Failure is simply feedback, a teacher in disguise. Many people view setbacks as personal attacks, as if the world has singled them out for suffering. But that's the wrong perspective. Life is not punishing you, it is preparing you. A closed door doesn't mean your destiny is denied, it means there's another path, a better route you have yet to see. Sometimes, rejection is protection. That job you didn't get may have been shielding you from a toxic environment. That relationship that ended may have been freeing you for something healthier and more fulfilling. The business deal that fell through may have been pointing you toward a bigger, more impactful opportunity. But if you get stuck in bitterness and resentment, you miss the hidden blessing in the setback. Setbacks also teach patience. In today's fast-paced world, people crave instant success and overnight achievements. But real growth is a slow, steady process. Just like seeds must spend time in the darkness of soil before breaking through the ground, you must often go through seasons of struggle before the fruits of your labor appear. Setbacks remind you that the journey is not about shortcuts, it's about endurance. When you accept delays and disappointments as part of the process, you develop the patience needed to sustain long-term success. Quick win can be exciting, but it often doesn't last. Growth that comes through setbacks, however, produces resilience that carries you through every future storm. Another lesson setbacks bring is humility. Success can sometimes inflate the ego, make us think we are invincible or untouchable. But when you experience a setback, it humbles you. It reminds you that you don't know everything, that you are still a student of life. Humility keeps you grounded and open to learning from others. It allows you to seek help, accept guidance, and collaborate with people who can lift you higher. Without humility, success can make you arrogant, and arrogance blinds you to new opportunities. Setbacks protect you from that blindness by reminding you that you always have more to learn. Think about some of the world's most successful individuals. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Steve Jobs was fired from the very company he created. J.K. Rowling faced multiple rejections before Harry Potter was finally published. Each of them experienced painful setbacks that could have crushed their spirit. But instead, they learned from those experiences. They took rejection as redirection. They used failure as feedback. They treated their setbacks as classrooms for growth. And because they embraced the lessons hidden in the struggle, they came back stronger, wiser, and more successful than before. You must also understand that setbacks teach you how to adapt. Life is unpredictable, and no matter how carefully you plan, things will not always go your way. Setbacks force you to be creative, to think outside the box, to find new strategies when the old ones fail. They sharpen your problem-solving skills and make you resourceful. Without setbacks, you might never push yourself to innovate or discover new abilities you didn't know you had. Adaptability is one of the greatest strengths you can develop, and setbacks are the very situations that train you. On a deeper level, setbacks also test your character. When everything is going well, it's easy to smile, to be positive, to treat others with kindness. But when life hits you with disappointment, when you lose a job, face financial hardship, or experience heartbreak, your true character is revealed. Do you become bitter, blaming everyone else, giving up on your dreams? Or do you remain steadfast, holding on to integrity, refusing to quit even when the road is rough? Setbacks give you the chance to prove to yourself who you really are. They strip away comfort and expose your inner strength. If you endure with courage, your character grows stronger with every trial. Another lesson setbacks offer is gratitude. When you lose something, an opportunity, a relationship, a goal, you begin to appreciate what you still have. Setbacks shift your focus from entitlement to appreciation. They remind you not to take success, health, or even small victories for granted. Gratitude born from struggle is deeper and more genuine than gratitude born from comfort. And that gratitude becomes fuel that sustains you through the journey. Finally, setbacks teach persistence. Nothing worth achieving comes without resistance. The road to success is filled with obstacles, detours, and delays. Each setback tests how badly you truly want what you're chasing. If you quit after the first disappointment, then maybe the dream wasn't rooted deep enough in your heart. But if you keep going through failure, through rejection, through pain, you prove your commitment. Persistence is the bridge between setbacks and comebacks. It is the refusal to give up, the determination to rise every time you fall. So when life knocks you down, do not stay there. Do not see the setback as the end of your journey. Instead, see it as a chapter in your growth story. Every closed door is preparing you for a bigger opening. Every failure is refining your skills, sharpening your character, and shaping your resilience. Every disappointment is setting you up for a breakthrough you could never achieve without the struggle. Growth is never easy, and it rarely comes without pain. But the pain has a purpose. The setback has a lesson. And when you embrace that lesson, you will come back stronger than ever before. Life has a way of throwing us into situations we never expected, circumstances that test not just our strength, but our very spirit. The seventh keynote, that setbacks build resilience, is not just a motivational idea, but a truth proven in the lives of anyone who has ever faced adversity. Resilience isn't something we are born with. It is something built in the fire of our struggles. Something formed when we face what looks impossible and yet decide to rise anyway. Setbacks, failures, disappointments, betrayals, losses, they hurt. They knock the air out of us, but hidden inside them is a gift. The strength to endure and the ability to bounce back stronger. Resilience is like a muscle. The more we are forced to use it, the stronger it becomes. Think about it. If life always went your way, if you never fail, if doors never shut, if pain never found you, would you ever learn how strong you really are? Would you ever develop the ability to endure hardship? Would you ever discover the depth of your character? The truth is, the most resilient people you know, the ones who inspire you, are not the ones who had it easy. They are the ones who went through storms, who endured brokenness, who faced nights of despair and mornings of doubt, but still chose to keep walking. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It is about becoming stronger because of it. When a setback hits, it doesn't just break something, it builds something too. Think about how gold is refined. It has to be put in the fire, heated until the impurities rise to the surface. Only then can it be purified. In the same way, setbacks expose us. They reveal our weaknesses, but at the same time, they refine our strengths. They show us what we are made of. They give us the ability to push past limits we never thought we could. You may think your breaking point is here, but when life pushes you beyond that and you survive, you suddenly realize you were stronger than you knew. That's resilience. Resilience also changes the way we view failure. Instead of seeing it as the end of the road, we begin to see it as part of the journey. When you are resilient, you stop asking, why me? And you start asking, oh, what now? You stop seeing yourself as a victim and you start seeing yourself as a fighter. Every time you fall and rise again, you create a new version of yourself, stronger, wiser, more capable. This process isn't easy and isn't quick. Resilience isn't built overnight. It's forged through repeated trial. Every time you endure something you thought you could, you add another layer to your strength. What's more, resilience doesn't just affect you, it impacts everyone around you. When you stay strong in the face of hardship, you inspire others to believe that they can too. Your story becomes someone else's reason not to give up. A resilient spirit is contagious. People see you rise again and again, and suddenly they realize that maybe they can rise too. You may not even know who is watching, but your resilience could be the spark that ignites someone else's comeback. Now, let's get practical. How do setbacks actually build resilience? First, they teach us adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and resilience is about learning how to bend without breaking. A resilient person doesn't crumble when their plans fail. They adjust, they pivot, they find another way. That flexibility is forged in the fire of setbacks. Second, setbacks build patience. When you are forced to wait, to endure, to keep going despite not seeing results, you develop a level of patience that cannot be taught any other way. And patience is a critical part of resilience because it allows you to keep moving when the journey is long. Third, setbacks develop perspective. When you've been through enough storms, small problems no longer shake you. You start to see things differently, and what once overwhelmed you becomes manageable. Another important aspect is that resilience gives you emotional strength. Some people think resilience is just about toughness, about never crying, about never showing weakness. That's not true. Resilience is not about denying your pain. It's about refusing to let your pain define you. It's about feeling every emotion, acknowledging the hurt, but still standing. It's about saying, yes, this hurts, but I will not let it break me. That's where true strength comes from. Not in pretending you're fine, but in knowing that even when you're not fine, you will still find a way to rise. History is full of examples of resilience born from setbacks. Great leaders, inventors, athletes, and visionaries, none of them had smooth roads. They were knocked down, doubted, rejected, and underestimated. But because of those experiences, they developed resilience. And that resilience allowed them to keep pushing until they succeeded. The setbacks didn't destroy them. They shaped them into the people who will later inspire millions. If you think about your own life, you will see the same pattern. Some of the hardest things you faced may have also been the moments that shape your character the most. Resilience also prepares you for future battles. Life is not a one-time fight. It's a series of challenges, and every setback you overcome prepares you for the next. When you face storms before, the next storm doesn't scare you as much. You know you survived before, and you know you can survive again. Resilience is like armor. It equips you to face whatever comes next without crumbling under the weight. And here's something powerful. Resilience turns pain into power. The very things that once broke you can become the fuel that drives you forward. The rejection that once stung can become the motivation to prove yourself. The loss that once shattered, you can become the reason you cherish moment. The failure that once embarrassed you can become the wisdom you use to succeed. That transformation doesn't happen without resilience. So when we say setbacks build resilience, we are not glorifying pain, but we are acknowledging the hidden value in it. None of us like setbacks, but all of us need the resilience they create. It is that resilience that gives us the courage to dream again after disappointment, to love again after heartbreak, to try again after failure, to rise again after falling. Resilience is the difference between someone who quits and someone who comes back stronger. The truth is, life will always test you, setbacks will always come. But if you choose to see them as opportunities to build resilience, then you will never be the same again. You will walk differently, talk differently, live differently because you know you can survive whatever comes your way. You will no longer fear failure because you know that even in failure, you gain something, resilience. And that resilience, once built, becomes unshakable. It becomes your greatest weapon, your greatest shield. It becomes the reason why no matter what life throws at you, you will always find a way to rise. That's the power of resilience. It transforms every setback into a setup for the strongest comeback you've ever made. Life has a way of testing us in ways we never see coming. No matter how carefully we plan, how disciplined we try to be, or how much effort we put into chasing our dreams, setbacks are inevitable. They come in the form of disappointment, failures, rejection, financial loss, broken relationships, or unexpected challenges that shake our confidence. But here's the truth. Setbacks are not meant to destroy us. They are meant to prepare us, to shape us, and to elevate us into a stronger version of ourselves. That's why the saying, every setback is a setup for a comeback, is so powerful. It reframes pain as preparation, failure as foundation, and obstacles as opportunities for growth. The ability to view a setback through this lens can completely transform the trajectory of our lives. When you experience a setback, your first instinct might be to focus on what went wrong. You may feel defeated, embarrassed, or even question your worth. But the reality is, setbacks are not proof that you're not capable. They are evidence that you're in the arena, that you're trying, that you're pushing yourself towards something bigger than your current reality. No one who has achieved greatness has done so without setbacks. Every champion, every leader, every person who has ever made history has a story filled with moments where life knocked them down. The difference between those who stay down and those who ride is how they interpret those setbacks. Some see them as the end of the road, while others see them as detours guiding them towards something greater. Take Thomas Edison, for example. He failed thousands of times while trying to invent the light bulb. Most people would have given up after the first 100 failures, let alone the first 1,000. But Edison didn't see failure as a setback. He saw it as feedback. Each attempt that didn't work simply taught him one more way that wouldn't succeed, narrowing down the path to the solution. His perspective turned failure into fuel, and that fuel created the light bulb, a comeback so powerful that literally changed the way the world lives. That's the power of interpreting setbacks as setups. When life throws setbacks at us, it's often because we're being prepared for something we don't yet understand. Sometimes what we think is a loss is really a lesson, and what feels like rejection is actually redirection. You didn't get that job. Maybe it's because there's a better opportunity waiting for you that aligns with your purpose. Your business failed. Maybe it's because you needed to learn resilience, strategy, and patience before your next venture could truly succeed. That relationship ended. Maybe it's because you needed to grow into a stronger, more self-aware version of yourself before you could attract the right partner. Every closed door isn't punishment, it's preparation. The beauty of setbacks is that they force us to dig deeper. When everything is going well, when life feels easy, we often don't question ourselves or push ourselves to grow. But when we're knocked down, when we're at rock bottom, that's when we discover who we really are. That's when we learn what we're made of. Pressure reveals strength, and setbacks create that pressure. They strip away the illusion of comfort and force us to rise above circumstances. That's why setbacks often become the birthplace of the greatest comebacks. But here's the key. A comeback doesn't happen automatically. You can't just go through a setback. You have to grow through it. Growth requires reflection, resilience, and determination. It requires looking at the pain honestly, asking yourself what lessons you can extract, and then applying those lessons with boldness. Too many people experience setbacks and get stuck in bitterness or self-pity. They spend their energy complaining about what happened instead of using that energy to prepare for the comeback. But the strongest individuals flip the script. They ask, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I use this setback as fuel for my future? That shift in mindset is the foundation of every comeback story. Consider athletes who suffer career-threatening injuries. Many of them could quit feeling like their setback is permanent. But the ones who fight back, who embrace the grueling process of rehabilitation, who refuse to let injury define them, often return stronger than before. Their bodies may heal, but more importantly, their mindset evolves. They return not only with physical strength, but with mental toughness, gratitude, and hunger that they didn't have before. The injury, the setback, becomes the very thing that ignites their legendary comeback. This truth doesn't apply only to athletes or inventors, it applies to every single one of us. Each of us has setbacks unique to our journey, and each setback carries the seed of a comeback. The question is, will you water that seed? Will you nurture it with discipline, perseverance, and faith? Or will you let the seed dry up in bitterness and fear? The choice is yours. One of the most powerful aspects of setbacks is that they create stories. Every person who has ever inspired others has a story of falling down and rising again. Their story gives hope to others who are struggling, showing them that it's possible to overcome. Without the setback, there would be no story. Without the challenge, there would be no triumph. The very thing you think disqualifies you may one day become the thing that qualifies you to inspire, teach, and lead others. That's why I always say, don't waste your pain. Don't waste your setbacks by giving up or by staying stuck in regret. Use them. Let them shape you into someone stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Let your setback be the foundation upon which you build your comeback. And remember, a comeback isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about showing yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. It's about refusing to let life define you by one chapter and instead writing the next one with courage and determination. So the next time you face a setback, don't let it break you. Don't see it as the end of your journey. See it as the setup for something bigger, greater, and more powerful than you could imagine. Hold on to the vision of your comeback. Believe in the power of resilience. And when you rise again, and you'll discover that your setback wasn't a stumbling block, but a stepping stone to your greatest victory. When we come to the close of this message, I want you to take a deep breath and really reflect on everything that has been said. Because the truth is, this is not just another speech. This is not just another collection of words strung together for inspiration. This is a calling, a reminder and a challenge for you to see your life differently, to see your struggles differently, and to step boldly into the comeback that is waiting for you. The reason we talk about setbacks so much is because everyone has them. No one escapes them. Setbacks are universal. What makes the difference is not the fact that you encounter them, but how you respond to them. Some people allow setbacks to break them, to destroy their confidence, to keep them stuck in one season forever. Others, the ones who go on to do something extraordinary, allow those same setbacks to shape them, strengthen them, and set them up for an even greater future. You see, life is never just about the easy wins, the smooth roads, or the victories that come without struggle. Life is forged in a fire of resistance. It is sculpted in the seasons of pain. And it is in those dark, discouraging, seemingly hopeless moments that your character is tested and your true destiny begins to form. You cannot call a comeback if there wasn't first a setback. You cannot rise unless you first fall. You cannot know the value of victory unless you've tasted the bitterness of defeat. That's why the title of this entire message is so powerful. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Not some setbacks, not just the ones that seem small, not just the ones you can easily recover from. Every single one of them. And the reason is simple. Setbacks force you to choose. They put you in a place where you have to make a decision. Will you quit or will you fight? Will you stay down or will you rise again? Will you believe the lie that it's over for you? Or will you trust that something greater is waiting if you keep moving forward? That choice is where transformation begins. That choice is where you become stronger than you ever imagined. And that choice is where comebacks are born. As you sit here reflecting on your own journey, think about the setbacks you've had, the losses, the failures, the disappointments, the betrayals, the moments when you thought you couldn't go on. Maybe it was losing a job. Maybe it was failing in school. Maybe it was a broken relationship. Maybe it was your own mistakes that left you ashamed and feeling unworthy. But let me remind you, none of those things were meant to destroy you. They were meant to wake you up. They were meant to teach you lessons you couldn't learn any other way. They were meant to strengthen you in ways that comfort and success never could. They were meant to show you who you really are and what you're really capable of when life pushes you to the edge. Understand this. Your comeback is not about erasing the pain of the past. It's not about pretending the setbacks never happened. It's about using them as fuel. It's about standing tall and saying, yes, I was knocked down, but I didn't stay there. Yes, I made mistakes, but I learned from them. Yes, I suffered, but I grew stronger. That's what makes a comeback so powerful. It's not the fact that you win. It's the fact that you win after losing, that you rise after falling, that you stand after being pushed to the ground. That's the beauty of the human spirit, the resilience that lives inside every single one of us. And let me remind you, a comeback doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't always have to be flashy. Sometimes your comeback is quiet, but powerful. It's the choice to wake up one more day and keep going when you feel like giving up. It's the decision to study harder after failing that test. It's the courage to apply for another job after being rejected a dozen times. It's the discipline to work on your craft, to hone your skills, to invest in yourself when nobody else believes in you. It's those small daily choices that build into the big comeback the world will one day see. But here's the key. You cannot allow bitterness, anger, or hopelessness to cloud your vision. You cannot get so stuck on the setback that you miss the opportunity it brings. Every great person you admire, every story of triumph you ever heard is rooted in setbacks. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light bulb. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before leading his nation to freedom. These were not people who never faced hardship. These were people who refused to let hardship have the final word. Their setbacks set the stage for their legendary comebacks. So the question becomes, what will you do with yours? Will you allow the setback to define you, or will you use it as a setup for something greater? Will you allow your failures to make you fearful, or will you allow them to make you fearless? Will you let the pain paralyze you, or will you let it propel you? These are questions only you can answer. But the truth is, your life, your future, and your destiny depend on the choices you make today. And as we conclude, let me speak directly to your heart. You are not finished, you are not defeated, you are not done. No matter what you've gone through, no matter how deep the hole feels, no matter how broken you feel inside, you still have another chapter waiting to be written. You still have strength inside you that you haven't tapped into yet. You still have dreams that can be realized, goals that can be achieved, and a life that can be transformed. But it won't happen by accident. It will happen when you make the decision to rise. It will happen when you decide to see your setback for what it really is, a setup for your comeback. So don't quit. Don't throw in the towel. Don't let your current pain blind you from your future promise. You've come too far to only come this far. There's more waiting for you if you're willing to push through. Take the lessons from your setbacks. Take the strength you built in the struggle and step boldly into your future. Your comeback story is waiting to be written, and the pen is in your hands. And one day when people look at you, when they hear your story, they won't just see the setbacks. You'll inspire them with a comeback. You'll give them hope when they feel hopeless. You'll show them that no matter how far they've fallen, there's always a way back up. That is the power of your journey. That is the gift hidden inside your struggles. That's why every setback you ever faced, every pain you've endured, every obstacle you've overcome was never the end. It was always the beginning of something greater. So walk out of here with your head high, your spirit strong, and your heart filled with determination. Refuse to let life break you. Refuse to let the past hold you. Refuse to let failure define you. Instead, embrace the truth. Every setback is a setup for a comeback, and your comeback begins now. Your comeback begins with one decision. Get up. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But that single decision is where every transformation, every victory, every breakthrough in your life begins. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the right timing. You don't need motivation, confidence, or clarity. You just need to decide that you will not stay where you fail. That you will rise, even if your legs are shaking. That you will move forward, even if you don't know exactly where the path leads. That you will refuse to let the fall define you. Because the truth is this: it's not the setback that destroys people. It's their decision to stay down. Getting up is not physical. It's mental. It's spiritual. It's emotional. Sometimes your body is exhausted, but your spirit is even more exhausted. Sometimes the weight of disappointment, failure, rejection, or loss makes standing feel impossible. Sometimes you feel like you've been knocked down so many times that standing feels pointless. But listen closely, you never run out of chances as long as you're willing to stand up again. You are one decision away from a whole new life. One decision away from healing, rebuilding, restoring, rewriting your story. One decision away from a comeback might shock the world and even shock yourself. Life doesn't ask you to be strong all the time. Life doesn't ask you to always know the answer. Life doesn't ask you to move fast, or loudly, or with confidence. Life just asks you to keep going, even slowly, even quietly, even with doubt in your heart. Standing up doesn't require perfection. It requires intention. The intention to try again. The intention to believe again. The intention to push again. When you decide to get up, even when everything in you feels broken, something powerful happens inside you. Your identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a victim and start seeing yourself as a warrior. You stop looking at your past as evidence of failure and start looking at it as preparation for greatness. Getting up doesn't mean the pain disappears. It doesn't mean the battle ends. It means you refuse to surrender to the situation. It means you take back control, even if your life still feels chaotic. It means you reclaim your power, even when you feel weak. It means you choose to rewrite the ending instead of letting the fall become your final chapter. And that choice, that one choice, separates those who rise from those who remain stuck. Many people stay down because they think getting up requires something magical. They think they need confidence first. They think they need motivation first. They think they need to feel strong before they act strong. But that's the lie that keeps people stuck. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes after action. Strength doesn't come before effort. It comes from effort. Motivation doesn't come before the decision. It is born from the decision. You don't wait to feel ready. You get up, and that act of rising creates readiness. Think about a fighter knocked down in the ring. The crowd gasps. The opponent celebrates. The referee begins counting. In that moment, the fighter doesn't have time to ask, or do I feel motivated? He doesn't have time to question, am I ready? He has one question: will I get up? And that single yes, even if he's bleeding, even if he's exhausted, even if he's losing, changes everything. Because once he gets up, the fight continues. And as long as the fight continues, the possibility of victory remains alive. Some of you stop fighting too soon. You fell once, twice, maybe 10 times, and you assumed the fall meant it wasn't meant to be. You assumed the setback meant the dream wasn't for you. You assumed the heartbreak meant you weren't worthy. You assumed the failure meant you were not capable. But the fall doesn't mean stop. The fall means look at how far you can rise. You rise by deciding. You rise by refusing to stay broken. You rise by refusing to let your worst moments dictate your future. You rise by refusing to accept a story that ends in defeat. Nobody can make that decision for you. Not your family, not your friends, not your mentor, not your circumstances, not your past. You are the only one who can decide to get up. And once you do, everything changes. Because life respects effort. Life honors persistence. Life rewards those who refuse to stay down. Standing up doesn't mean you'll instantly succeed. You might get up and still fall again. You might get up and still feel pain. You might get up and still struggle. But every time you stand, you gain experience, strength, clarity, and resilience. Every time you stand, you become harder to break. Every time you stand, you move one step closer to the version of yourself that you were destined to become. Sometimes getting up means leaving behind people who expect you to stay down. Some people are more comfortable with your broken version because your brokenness makes their laziness feel justified. Some people want you to stay weak because your strength exposes their excuses. But you cannot stay down just because others are afraid to rise. Your future is not tied to their fear. Your purpose is not built on their comfort. You have to stand for yourself. You have to rise for yourself. Sometimes getting up means facing the same mountain that crushed you. It means walking back into the same arena where you once failed. It means confronting the same weaknesses that once defeated you. But when you choose to rise again, you rise with experience. You rise with knowledge. You rise with lessons. You rise with scars that teach you strength. And those scars, those lessons, those experiences make you more powerful than you were before the fall. The moment you decide to get up, you activate a force inside you that's been asleep. The force of resilience. Resilience is not something you're born with. It's something you build every time you rise after falling. The moment you get up, you tell your story, your fears, your doubts, your failures, your doubts. You will not win here. You might get up slowly. You might get up shakily. You might get up tired. But get up anyway, because stand down guarantees defeat. Rising gives you a chance at victory. And sometimes that chance is all you need. One decision can change your identity. One decision can change your direction. One decision can change your destiny. You don't need to know the whole plan. You don't need to see the full staircase. You just need to take the first step, the step of rising. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you believe. You have more inside you than you have ever tapped into. And the world has not yet seen the version of you that emerges after you decide to rise. The comeback is not about talent. It's not about luck. It's not about resources. The comeback begins when you decide that the fall will not have the final word, that you are not done, that you will not be defined by defeat, that you are still in the fight. Every great comeback you've seen in history started with someone who was counted out, someone who was doubted, someone who was overlooked, but who made a simple decision. I will get up. And that decision ignited a transformation greater than anyone expected. Your comeback begins the moment you stand. Even if your voice shakes, even if your hope is small, even if your strength is low, stand anyway, rise anyway, move anyway. Because the second you get up, your story changes. And the second your story changes, your destiny begins to unfold in a new direction. The fall is not your identity. The decision to rise is. The valley builds what the mountain cannot, because the valley is where you meet the real you. When everything is going right, when the sun is shining, when the path is smooth, you don't question anything. You don't dig deep. You don't stretch yourself. You don't get tested. On the mountain, everything feels good, but growth doesn't come from feeling good. Growth comes from pressure, from adversity, from the weight you have to lift when life decides to challenge you. The valley is the place where your strength is formed, where your resilience is sharpened, where your belief in yourself is tested and strengthened. And listen to me carefully. If you never go through the valley, you will never develop the muscles necessary to stay on the mountain. People want success, but they don't want struggle. They pray for elevation, but beg to avoid the seasons required to prepare them for that elevation. They want the crown, but not the cross. They want the victory, but not the battle. But life doesn't work that way. Every champion you admire, every giant you respect, every person who has reached the top of their mountain has had their valley seasons. Seasons of confusion, loss, heartbreak, failure, doubt, loneliness, and frustration. Those seasons didn't break them, they built them. The valley didn't destroy them. The valley forged them. Because the valley demands something from you that the mountain never will. It demands that you fight for every step, for every breath, for every inch of progress. In the valley, you don't have the luxury of pretending. You can't hide your weaknesses because the valley exposes them. You can't rely on easy routes because the valley has none. You can't lean on comfort because the valley is uncomfortable by design. But that discomfort is the birthplace of growth. It is in those moments where you feel like giving up, where your back is against the wall, where everything in you screams to quit, where you discover what you're really made of. You don't know your strength until being strong is the only option left. And it's the valley that forces you into that realization. The mountain shows you the view. The valley shows you the vision. And there's a difference. The view is what you see when everything is clear. It's beautiful, it's inspiring, but it doesn't change you. Vision is what you hold on to when everything is dark, when nothing is going according to plan, when you can't see the mountaintop anymore. Vision is something you must grow internally, and the valley is where that vision is tested and refined. In the valley, you learn whether your dreams were built on excitement or commitment, whether they were built on emotion or discipline, whether they were built on hype or real hunger. Most people love the idea of the mountaintop, but they don't want to walk through the valley. They want shortcuts, hacks, secrets, and fast routes, but the valley is unavoidable. If you skip the valley, you skip the preparation. And if you skip the preparation, you won't survive the mountain. Because the higher you go, the stronger the winds get. The mountain isn't a peaceful place. It's a place of pressure, expectation, responsibility, visibility, and weight. And only those who are trained in the valley have the strength to stand tall when the winds come. The valley is your training ground. It's the gym for your spirit, your mind, your heart. And just like lifting weights, it hurts, but the hurt is exactly what builds the muscle. The valley humbles you. It reminds you that you're human. It breaks your pride. It strips away your ego. It forces you to acknowledge your weaknesses, confront your flaws, and face your limitation. And that humility becomes your greatest armor when you rise again. Because when you reach the mountaintop without humility, you lose yourself. But when you reach the mountaintop as someone who has been refined by struggle, molded by adversity, and strengthened by failure, you appreciate the mountain with a deeper gratitude. You respect the journey. You value the grind. And you stay grounded because you know where you came from and what it took to get there. The valley is also where you learn patience. Not the kind of patience where you wait passively, but the kind of patience where you keep pushing even when you don't see results yet. It's the patience that teaches you that growth is slow, progress is invisible at times, and the process takes longer than you expect. But it also teaches you that the delay is not denial. The valley teaches you that just because it's hard doesn't mean it's wrong. Just because it's painful doesn't mean you're failing. Sometimes the valley is not punishment. It's positioning. It's preparing you for a version of success you aren't ready for yet. You also learn discipline in the valley. When you don't feel motivated, when you feel overwhelmed, when everything in you wants to quit, that's when discipline is born. Because discipline is showing up without applause. Discipline is working without seeing progress. Discipline is believing when nothing around you supports that belief. And that level of discipline can only be forged in difficulty, not comfort. The valley teaches you to be consistent regardless of how you feel. It teaches you to keep moving even when the emotions change. It teaches you to commit to the process, not the moves. The valley teaches you resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back, but it's also the ability to withstand pressure without breaking. It's learning how to bend without collapsing, how to struggle without surrendering, how to hurt without stopping. And resilience is not built on mountaintops. It is built in the trenches, in the storms, In the dark places where you keep going, even though it would be easier not to. Every tear, every setback, every disappointment is adding to your resilience, shaping you into someone who is unshakable. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. And the valley teaches you perseverance. Perseverance is a decision to continue even after motivation disappears. It is the power to stay in the fight, to keep walking, to keep pushing, and when progress feels microscopic, choppy. Perseverance is what separates dreamers from achievers, because everyone dreams, but only a few persist long enough to see those dreams manifest. And that persistence is developed in the valley. The valley is also where your faith grows. Not just faith in a higher power, but faith in yourself, faith in your purpose, faith in your ability to endure, faith in your potential. In the valley, you learn to trust the process even when you don't understand it. You learn that setbacks are setups, that delays are shaping your destiny, that detours are leading you to something greater. You learn to believe in something you cannot see yet because your external environment no longer supports your internal vision. That level of faith cannot develop on a mountain where everything is obvious. It grows in the places where nothing is clear. The valley is necessary because without it, your victory wouldn't have meaning. Success without struggle is empty. It doesn't shape you. It doesn't mature you. It doesn't build the character necessary to handle the blessings that come later. The valley creates gratitude. When you walk through darkness, the light means more. When you've experienced hunger, success tastes different. When you've struggled to climb, the view from the top becomes priceless. The valley also teaches you who is truly with you. Not everyone who claps for you on the mountain will walk with you in the valley. But the valley strips away false friends, exposes fake support, and reveals who genuinely believes in you. That truth alone prepares you for the next level, because you cannot rise with the wrong people. The valley is not your enemy. The valley is your elevation in disguise. It doesn't feel good, but it is good for you. It is shaping you into someone capable of handling greatness. And when you finally reach the mountain, you won't be the same person who entered the valley. You will be stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more determined, and more prepared. The valley builds what the mountain cannot, because the valley transforms you. And once you understand that, you will never fear the valley again. You will embrace it, because you know it is preparing you for everything you prayed for. In the end, everything comes down to the choices you make when life hits you the hardest. Not when things are easy, not when the path is smooth, not when the results are showing, but when everything seems to be falling apart, when you feel outnumbered, when you feel like the world has forgotten your name. That is the moment where your character is revealed, where your strength is tested, and where your destiny is shaped. You don't rise when everything is perfect. You rise when everything inside you wants to quit, but you push anyway. You rise when your mind is tired, your heart is heavy, and your spirit feels weak, but something deep inside whispers to get up one more time. That whisper is where your comeback begins. A comeback is not loud at first. It doesn't begin with applause. It doesn't begin with encouragement. It doesn't begin with validation. A comeback begins in silence, in the quiet decision to try again. It begins when nobody is watching, when nobody is clapping for you, when nobody is expecting anything from you. It begins in the moments of doubt, in the moments of fear, in the moments when you question everything, yet still choose to believe that there is more ahead. That simple act of faith, that willingness to rise despite uncertainty, is the seed of transformation. Just because you failed doesn't mean you are finished. Falling is a part of the journey, a part of the process, a part of the growth. There is no shame in falling. The only shame is in refusing to rise. Every person you admire, every person who has achieved greatness, every person who has left a mark on this world has been knocked down. Sometimes harder than you, sometimes more often than you, sometimes more often than you. But they made a decision. They chose not to stay down, and that decision changed everything. Your comeback is waiting on your courage. It's waiting on your resilience. It's waiting on your willingness to fight for yourself even when you don't feel like you deserve the victory yet. You might think you're too broken, too tired, too late, too lost. But those are lies that come from the pain, not the truth that comes from your potential. You are capable of more than you have allowed yourself to believe. You have strength inside you that you haven't even tapped into. You have a fire inside you that setbacks cannot extinguish. Every struggle you faced has been shaping you. Every disappointment has been teaching you. Every heartbreak has been preparing you. Every failure has been sharpening you. None of it was wasted. Even the moments that hurt the most were molding you into someone who can rise stronger, wiser, and more focused. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience. And experience is one of the most powerful weapons you can carry. Your comeback is not about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. It's about becoming the version of you that you know you can be, the version you've seen in your dreams, the version you've imagined during your quiet moments. It's about stepping into your own potential with full belief, full commitment, full courage. You don't rise for applause. You rise for your purpose. You rise for your future. You rise for the person you are becoming. And when you rise, truly rise, something shifts in the universe. Opportunities begin to appear. Doors begin to open. Strength you didn't know you had begins to surface. People who doubted you begin to notice. People who believed in you begin to celebrate. But most importantly, you begin to trust yourself again. You begin to see that you are capable. You begin to understand that you are powerful. You begin to realize that you were never defeated. You were being prepared. This is your moment to reclaim your narrative. This is your moment to rewrite your story. This is your moment to decide that the fall will not define you, but the rise will. You owe it to yourself to stand back up. You owe it to your future to fight for it. You owe it to your dreams to protect them. You owe it to your purpose to pursue it with everything you have. The comeback is not a fantasy. It's not a miracle. It is not luck. It is a decision backed by consistent effort. It is the daily choice to rise, to push, to fight, to grow, to keep going, to keep going. The progress is slow and the nights are long. It is the courage to believe in what you cannot see yet. It is the strength to continue even when the results haven't shown up. It is the ability to hold on to hope when circumstances tell you to let go. And hear this clearly. Your comeback will be greater than your setback. Not because the world owes you anything, but because you are becoming the kind of person who cannot be defeated. The kind of person who grows under pressure. The kind of person who refuses to surrender. The kind of person who understands that setbacks are setups for something bigger, something higher, something deeper. One day you will look back on this season and realize that the pain made you stronger, the losses made you wiser, the delays made you patient, the struggles made you disciplined, and the setback made you unstoppable. You will see that nothing was taken from you. Everything was given to you in the form of lessons, strength, and growth. You will understand that the valley wasn't the end of your story. It was the beginning of your comeback. So rise, slowly if you must, uncomfortably if you must, painfully if you must, but rise anyway because you are not done. Your story is not finished. Your dream is not dead. Your purpose is not over. You are still in the fight. And as long as you are in the fight, victory is still possible. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. And your comeback starts now.